Hey, this is Matt once again. What about in the video? This is another paid request. This time for Gia. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And he wanted me to do another comparison, The Punisher 2004 versus Daredevil 2003. Now, I enjoy both films. I think both films are fairly underrated. They got crapped on when they came out, but I've always enjoyed them. So it's a bit difficult because I would say the Punisher character is more my cup of tea in terms of reading some of his comic books and being a down and dirty, killing the criminals with shotguns and machine guns and pistols and whatever weapons he got into it. Being a fan of one-man army movies, of Rambo films and Commando and those films back to the 80s, like the Punisher with a cool skull shirt, it just more appealing to me compared to superhero films. That's just the films I grew up with, the type of films I grew up with. So right from the get-go, the idea of the Punisher just more appealing to me than Daredevil. I like Thomas Jane and I like Ben Affleck. I would say I would pick Thomas Jane. While I don't think Ben Affleck did that bad of a job in Daredevil, despite what everyone else wants to say, I thought Ben Affleck was actually fairly good. I thought that Thomas Jane really fit the Punisher and would love to have seen sequels with him. The best we got was that Dirty Laundry short film. I thought Thomas Jane really owned... I love Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher. That's my favorite Punisher movie. But Thomas Jane, I think, really owned the role of the Punisher. And to me, it was the role he was born to play. And sadly, he didn't get the franchise, which is a damn shame. Now, with that said, if I look at music, let's go through it. Like music, score-wise, I would say I like the Punisher score more than Daredevil's score. Daredevil's score is fine, but I would say I like the Punisher score more with that. I don't know, it felt like a Western, or it felt... I don't know how you would... I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but... Not Ennio Morricone, but it's something about the score really made it feel a bit different and unique from the opening. I mean, just made it feel a bit different from the pack. I thought it was a very much an above average, more so a pretty damn solid score. And then soundtrack wise, both soundtracks I enjoy. That a Punisher has Step Up, Do You Wanna Step Up, or Broken. I'd probably give the soundtrack to Daredevil though, because a lot of those songs I really liked on the Daredevil soundtrack. Like when he's a kid and he's like training his powers. And there's a song that I can't remember the name of the songs. I like the Evanescence scores, My Immortal, and Bring Me to Life. I do like those songs. I do like, man, Without Fear. I think it's Rob Zombie. Daredevil, Daredevil. I won't back down. So I would give the soundtrack to Daredevil. Villain-wise, I don't mind John Travolta in The Punisher, but I would give the villain to Daredevil as well, because I think Michael Clark Duncan was great as Kingpin, especially in the R-rated version. I think he had not only the physique and the build. You can tell he was having fun with the part. He owned the part. He was a guy you didn't want to fuck with. he felt like a guy that would be control of a city and a criminal empire and be an unstoppable force against your hero. Rest in peace, Michael Clark Duncan. I thought he did a great job in that role. Loved him as Kingpin. And Colin Farrell was having a lot of fun as Bullseye. You know, I like the little, not tattoo, but the indentation of the forehead. And Colin Farrell just like he was having fun. The devil is mine. Even the little bits where he has the peanut and he makes the old lady choke to death. Or he has these little things that he puts into people's necks. And I felt like he was having a ball with that role. So again, while I don't mind John Travolta in The Punisher, I mean, it's not one of Travolta's best roles. He was fine, but it's nothing remarkable about the villains. But the villains, in a good way, felt bigger than life in Daredevil. So again, give a point to the soundtrack and the villains, but Punisher has a points for the initial premise being more my cup of tea, as I'm more into that than superheroes, and the score. Another point to the Punisher is they don't go full force with a love story. I mean, they try to hint something where the Rebecca Romaine, but then the Punisher's like, no, I can't do this, which makes sense because he just lost his family, and they don't go full force with that. Daredevil, I was never big on the love story aspect. That's probably why I like the R-rated cut better, because the R-rated cut of Daredevil is more about him being as a lawyer, and less about the love story aspect of Elektra. I mean, I like certain bits, like when he sees the rain hit her, and he can see her image. But, I mean, the theatrical cut was the cut most people saw. I mean, if I'm comparing Punisher to the director's cut, okay, then that's actually pretty fair, even. But theatrical cut, I would give to the Punisher more for that. Supporting cast and humor, I'll probably say Daredevil did a bit better with that, because I like Jon Favreau. I like the banter between Ben Affleck and Jon Favreau. I think there's actually some very funny moments that Jon Favreau had. And I would say I like Jon Favreau in that more than in the Spider-Man, Iron Man movies. Now, I don't mind him in the Iron Man films, working with Robert Downey Jr., but again, I actually liked his character in Daredevil more. I thought he was funnier. Again, in the R-rated director's cut, I think he had more of a fun banter with Ben Affleck, and I thought the character was actually more enjoyable. The supporting characters, I mean, you had the neighbors. I think one was Ben Foster, I believe. Could be wrong. And, they were fine. But, the Punisher is mainly a lone man, lone wolf, so it makes sense that he's not the most talkative guy. One point to the Punisher is that for a lot of it, it's more practical. While Daredevil, one of the things that doesn't hold up is the CGI. Especially that scene when he's fighting Bullseye in the church, and like Bullseye is catching all those pieces of glass and then throwing it, and when they're on the organ, jumping on it, and that's the time when Spider-Man had come out, and the CGI was just not, maybe for the time it was fine, but it really does not hold up at all well. While you don't get a whole lot of that with the Punisher, because it's mostly more practical stuff. So I do appreciate that. I would say emotion-wise, I probably did a bit more out of the Punishers. Because, I mean, Daredevil's fine with the death of his father and what happens with that. And then you find out who did it. As well as the bit where he's like, I'm not the bad guy. And he sees a kid being scared because he's being the shot of a criminal. But I would say emotion-wise, I definitely go more towards the Punisher. In particular with the death of his family. And his family dying. And he gets a shotgun. And he's doing his last stand. The bit where he's thinking of his family. And he's thinking of shoot himself. And he snaps out of it. I definitely feel more of the emotion in the Punisher. The fire gag, because they both have fire gags. The Daredevil with his... I would say Daredevil looks a bit better visual-wise. Because it looked like they did that for real on set. I could be wrong. When John Pettigliano throws the fire. Granted, I mean, the best way it was done in The Crow, but... And you see the reflection on Joe Pettigliano's glasses. I thought it was a bit pushing the Punisher, because like he blows up all the cars in this wide shot where he must have found a way to make it all look like a Punisher skull, and the CGI that's a CG shot, one of the few I can remember in it that wasn't the best to look at. So between the two, I do have the fire bit, the Daredevil. So you see, it was a bit better. I do really enjoy both of these films. At the end of the day, because I'm enjoying Thomas Jane a bit more and his force, not but his, I think he gives such a. Ben Affleck's good in Daredevil, but I feel much more of a performance from Thomas Jane the Punisher, and really more in tone with his journey. And while the R-rated director's cut has some good action scenes in Daredevil, the Punisher just has that visceralness, those moments that really pop out. Then the paper cutter and hitting in the guy's head, the brutal fist fight with Kevin Nash, and he's been pushed through walls, and he tries to use the gun and the gun gets smashed. He can't use it. The knife that goes under the guy's chin, and you see the blade within it. I could do without the stupid shit with the fire hydrant and planning. I wish there's more. You could technically say there's more action in Daredevil, to be fair. But the action of Punisher just hits a bit harder for me. When he has the knife thing that shoots out and hits the guy in the neck. Although it didn't fight scenes, Daredevil wins. I mean, the whole bit in the bar where he's kicking ass, taking names, gets those batons, beating the shit out of people, doing these flips, kicking people in the face. He gets a one-on-one fight with the villain, Kingpin, which in the R-rated cut, he breaks the guy's knee, shatters his knees or whatever. That's really cool. So that's the thing. Like I still really like the action in Daredevil, so it's hard to pit between the two. But I would say just because I like one-man army movies more than superhero films, because there's a bit more obvious CGI in Daredevil that hinders it a bit, and because there's a bit more of that visceral shot of the violence that's just a bit more appealing. And then Thomas Jane, just I gravitate more towards. Well, I do like Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Thomas Jane, I just gravitate a bit more towards. There's a lot of good, back and forth between the two movies, but overall, I would say the Punisher from 2004. Even the final shot, You have Daredevil jumping into CGI land, although I do like the song playing in the background. But in the Punisher, I like him standing on the bridge and it's just silence. You know, I liked his speech. Call me the Punisher, and it's silence. And then you go into the music in the end credits. I like that silence. It just has a nice little exclamation point in the film. And it does feel like a smaller film. In fact, smaller than I wanted because I wanted more of a gun busting movie. That's what I was hoping for a sequel, but then there's talks, and Thomas Jane looked at the script, he wasn't happy with it, and if it's Punisher Warzone, I can't really blame him because like that got even bigger doesn't mean more ridiculous, and it got a lot more ridiculous with Jigsaw giving speeches in front of an American flag and all this other shit. But I mean, part of me wonders if Thomas Jane was in Punisher Warzone, I might have liked it more because I really liked Thomas Jane and I really liked him in it. But it is what it is. So with that said, yeah, I would give it to the Punisher. But I still really like Daredevil. I think both are, again, underrated films of that era. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.